So for the first one, is the first one arithmetic or not arithmetic? Yes. And what's D equal?
3.
Yep. All right, next one.
Or no.
Yep, not arithmetic. What about the next one?
Wait, no, isn't number 2 arithmetic? It's times.
But you can't do multiplication for arithmetic.
Oh.
Yeah. What about the third one?
Third one,
Yes. And what's D equal? 4, yeah. All right, next one.
no.
And last one. Okay. So we are doing just the second type of sequences, which is geometric today. So your objective is students will be able to write and use explicit formulas for geometric sequences. The geometric sequences are going to be the ones that use multiplication or division. Primarily multiplication, so I would underline multiplication. Because we don't really have a way to represent division in a formula, so we always represent division as multiplication by like a fraction or a decimal, okay? And then instead of a common difference, it's called a common ratio, so we use an R for that. And the notation looks a little bit different, so it uses subscripts like that, as opposed to like function notation, but it means the same thing. And then same thing as yesterday, where there are 2 types of formulas. Which one is going to be the useful one? Explicit, yeah. So recursive is based on what's happening to the previous term, and we have to know every term for that one. Explicit is based on the term number in the sequence, and then we need to know the first term in the common ratio. So we go with the explicit one. However, on MathXL, it does have you write the recursive one, I will warn you. That was just overlooked, but it's very easy to write. It's just going to ask you what the first term is, and you're just going to type in what the first term is, and then you're just going to type this. For the recursive formula, exactly as it's written, you're just going to put in R, okay? You just have to replace the R. That's it. There's no simplifying. There's nothing like that. So here you plug in the R for this one, and then you plug in the first term right here when it asks you for the first term. But remember, this one, I'm still going to cross it out, and you can still see what it says, because we don't like to use this one. We like to use the explicit one, but you should still know how to write the recursive for the homework. But on the test, you won't be asked to, okay? The explicit formula, same kind of deal. You're plugging in your first term right here. And then your common ratio goes in the parentheses after it being multiplied. And what's nice about this one is that you do not have to simplify at all. There's no distributing. It's just you're done once you do it. So the layout of the notes is going to be the same as yesterday. Like first we're going to identify if it's geometric or not. Then we're going to write the formula. Then we're going to use the formula. Okay? So remember, we're looking for a multiplication or division pattern. So on A, what am I multiplying or dividing by to go, or what am I multiplying by to go from 20 to 200? Times 10. Does that continue all the way through?
Yeah.
Okay. So we would say this is geometric, and R equals 10. What about the next one? What am I multiplying 2 by to get to 4? Times 2, does that continue? No. So not geometric. And what about C? What am I multiplying by? -1, does that continue? Yeah, it says to be geometric, where R equals -1. And I go ahead and do the got it. And once you're done with the got it, if I were you, I would get a calculator because you're going to need one today. Okay. For A, is that geometric or not?
Yes.
Yes. And what does R equal? What about the second one? Yeah, not. All right, C? Yes. And what does R equal? 1/3, yeah. And then D. Okay. We all good on being able to tell if it is or if it's not? Yeah? Cool. All right. So now we're going to find the formula. So here is what the formula is again. So it is A sub n equals A sub 1, which is your first term, times R, which is your common ratio, to the exponent n minus 1. So for this one, what is my first term? 7. And then what is my common ratio? 3. So we just do A sub n equals 7 times 3, the n minus 1 power. And that's it. Go ahead and do the formulas for the next two.
Oh, do we not get the 7 times 3? Or
We can't because the 3 has the exponent. Because the board of operations, like you would have to do the exponent before you're allowed to multiply.
and we don't know what the exponent is.
Correct. Yeah, until we plug in an n, like we're trying to find a specific number. Okay. For the first one, what's my first term? 2. And what's R equal? 2. So you should have a sub n equals 2 times 2 to the n minus 1 power.
Why would it be 2?
Because you're starting with 2 and you're multiplying by 2. All right, and then for the next one, what's my first term? 40, and then what's r? 1/2, yep. So we have to do 1/2 because there's no way to represent division, like to distinguish. So it's automatically multiplication. So if you were to use 2, then, like meaning divide by 2, it's automatically going to be multiplied by 2. So you have to use fraction, okay? So you'd have a sub n equals 40 times 1/2 to the n minus 1 power. All right, any questions? Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is write the formula and then find a specific term that it's asking us to find. Okay? All right. All right, so it says write the explicit formula and then use the formula to find the 8th term. So on this one, what is my first term? 14. And then what's my common ratio? 6. Okay, so your formula is going to be a sub n equals 14 times 6 to the n minus 1 power. And here's where you're going to need a calculator. This next part. So the formula is really easy for this one because you don't have to really do anything after that. But plugging in and finding a term is where things get tricky and people usually get it wrong. Okay? So what term does it say to find? Yeah. So we're going to plug 8 in for the n. So a sub 8 equals 14 times 6 to the 8 minus 1 power. Which we're going to do that subtraction. So a sub 8 equals 14 times 6 to the what power? 7th. Yep. So subtract that exponent piece. And then it's from here getting your answer is what is tricky. So a lot of people try to do 14 times 6 and then do to the 8th power, just going left to right. That's not order of operations. You have to do the exponent first, the 6 to the 7th. So you either need to do 6 to the 7th and find out what that equals and then do times 14 after that, or you need to plug that whole thing in exactly as it's written all at once into the calculator, okay? So go ahead and plug that in. Practice putting it in there so you can make sure you're doing it right. I'm gonna grab mine. And then I'll tell you the answers and you can check and make sure you're plugging it in right. So you should get 3,919,104. You can expect to get really big and really small numbers for this because it's multiplication and division, so that just naturally happens.
Would it not be easier to get 14 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 over and over again?
Nah, that would not be easier.
Are you sure? Because I did that.
I know, but it's fast. It's way faster to type just that far. You don't know what the next one's going to be. The next one could be 52. All right, next one. What is my first term? 648. And what's my common ratio? 1/2, yeah. So you're going to get a sub n equals 648 times 1/2 to the n minus 1 power. And then when you're trying to find the 8th term, that's going to be the same thing. So a sub 8 equals 648 times 1/2 to the 7th. So the way you'll type that into the calculator, you can either do a decimal, like 0.5 if that's easier, or you would do, I'll show you, 648 parentheses 1 divided by 2 parentheses to the 7th, like that. Okay? So the eighth term is 5.062. Any questions on that? Okay, go ahead and do the last two. Mm-hmm. It's what you're multiplying by as you go down the list. Bless you. Okay, ready? Yes? Okay. All right, for the first one, what is my first term? 12, and then what's my common ratio? 2. Yep. So you should have a sub n equals 12 times 2 to the n minus 1 power for your formula. And then for the, is it eighth term again? Yeah. A sub 8 equals 12 times 2 to the 8 minus 1 power, which is 12 times 2 to the 7th. So your eighth term should be 1,536. Any questions on that? Doing 8 minus 1. 8 minus 1. Just simplifying that. All right, on B, what's the first term? 3, and the common ratio? Negative 4. Yep. So A sub n equals 3 times negative 4 to the n minus 1 power. Right, eighth term, 3 times negative 4 to the 8 minus 1, which is 3 times negative 4 to the 7th. So your eighth term is negative 49,152. Questions at all? Okay, there's lesson check. Get that done real quick. Yeah. No. Yeah. So figure out anything time. Yeah. Ambrose, do you have your notes done? Okay, so you asked for a pencil. You don't. Come on. All right. Is A geometric or not geometric? Yep, geometric. And what's R equal? Mm-hmm. And then what about 2?
Yeah.
Yes. And what's R equal? Yeah, 1/4. And what about C? Or 3? All right. For your formula for this one, you should have A sub n equals 5 times 4 to the n minus 1 power. And it said find the 9th term. So you should have A sub 9 equals 327,680. Any questions on that? Okay.